Thanks, Grady. And thank you to the RRS team for inviting us along again this year. It's exciting to be here a year after we listed. So this time last year, 25th of May, Bellavista hit the boards. We raised $6.5 million in about half an hour. And since then, we've been pinning the ears back and getting stuck into our Brumby project. What's in a name? Bellavista. It means beautiful view in Italian or Spanish. And there's another name, Bellevue, which is French for beautiful view. So I'll let you hold that thought for a minute and we will click on usual cautionary statements. You can have a look at that on the website. Now I'm going to jump straight into a slide. This is hot off the press, straight from site. This was done over the weekend and there's some exciting information within that. So let's just quickly run through that and then we'll go back into the main presentation. We're currently diamond drilling in phase 2 of our drilling. Our first phase was about concept, scale, and trying to work out how well this particular Brumby system hangs together. I'll get you to note the scale bar there, 5 kilometres. So we don't drill our holes 50 metres apart, we don't drill our holes 100 metres apart, we don't even drill them 500 metres apart. These holes are being drilled a kilometre apart. So that's how we're trying to find the edge of the Brumby system. We did that through the central part of the system. It's a big lazy anticline sitting there. There were some previous holes that were drilled by CRA back in the 90s. They did it with RC. They didn't have a lot of luck with the drilling conditions back in the day. The rigs weren't that great. So there was a lot of holes drilled, but about 50% of them didn't make it to depth. So we went back and finished the job for them. And we've identified that this system is very consistent. It's continuous. It's about 10 to 30 metres thick. And it goes for kilometres. At the moment, I think the scale, it's about 7 Ks by 4 Ks of what we've actually drilled to the edges so far, and now we're stepping out from that. So the key point with this phase of drilling was the grade profile is around 2.5% zinc equivalent, which is okay, but you know, we're looking for better than that in what is a very large system. So we've found some vectors in the data, and that's suggesting that we should move further to the north, further to the west, closer to the edges of the basin where we might see some grade increases and potentially some thickening. So the key observations from this work, I mean, we started this diamond drilling back in April. However, the cyclone came through not long after, very late in the season. So we all got rained off, helicopters in to get everyone out. We spent a couple of weeks letting everything dry out, and we only just got back in last week or the week before to start drilling again. So holes 1 and 2 of this particular program, so it's the extensions of hole 5, extensions of hole 3. They've now just been completed. We've moved on to hole 4 today, which is another one on those little yellow marks there. But the key points are higher grades have been confirmed with PXRF. So whilst PXRF, people always get a bit nifty about it in terms of the overall grade for that interval, the key for us is looking for grade increases. So what we need to see in this particular program is we're looking for spikes of high grade within our 30 metre wide, 10 to 30 metre wide zone. And then the other key is thickening. So we've noticed in hole 5 that the zone is actually quite thick. We are drilling on the edge of a limb a little bit, so that does increase the width, true width, but the reality is we're seeing mineralisation over a much broader zone than we've seen previously. And the second thing in hole 3 is we're seeing some good high grade spikes. Now, there is some details in the appendices on here on what we're doing in terms of some neat technology that's showing us how we're getting these high grade spikes, but it's a really exciting breakthrough for the project. So we thought we'd better put that slide up front and show everybody where we're at. So let's just move on, if this button's going to work. Here we go. This is Bellavista. So I mentioned before, Bellavista, Bellevue. If you look at our top 4 shareholders and then on to our top 20. So Steve Parsons, 12%. You might know him because he was the founding member of Bellevue. Mark Clark, another gold person. So he's Capricorn Metals, executive chairman. He's a 10% shareholder. We've got their money men, Mike Naylor and Kim Massey, sitting there at 6.6 and 5.8. So our top 4 shareholders are the executive teams of the former executive team of Bellevue and the executive team of the other company. So basically for us, these guys have picked us as their team to put together a base metals story. Our top 20, we've got a few other guys there that are fairly powerful players in our industry, so we're very pleased to have these guys backing the company. We don't have a lot of shares on issue, it's 66 million. We have a market cap at around 11 million. So this is the difference between the previous story and where we're at. We're at the start of our journey, but we're set up for success, and really that's the key for us, is get out there, use the drill bit to prove concept, and as I say, this system is huge, and so we have a great opportunity to add value. Management team. Again, this is what it's about, getting good people together in a team, and we've each bring our own specialties to the table, but we've got engineers, we've got CFOs, we've got Steve, who's a great deliverer of value to shareholders, myself, a true explorationist, and then we've got a core A team of people under that. The project. So it sits about 130 kilometres southwest of Newman. It's on the edge of the Edmund Basin. To the south of us is Abra. To the north of us, Teck, the Canadian base metals company, has recently picked up a large swag of ground. Very similar rocks, very similar context, and we're quite excited to see them turn up in the district, because Teck hasn't been around in WA for a long time, and they've just turned up right next to us as a neighbour. So our project, it's about 140 kilometres long, pardon me. You can see on that map, position 5 is Brumby. The beautiful thing about that is at the other end of that particular little system, there's a Brumby repeat, which we haven't even looked at yet. It's still under application. We have 80 kilometres of strike along the top of the basin there, including some really interesting intrusives over here, which are mafic, ultramafic, and have been deemed by the Geoscience Australia to be very similar to that of Nova Bollinger in age and style. So none of those have been looked at before, so it's a really exciting package, and we're busily getting all that together. So that's pretty much where it is. This is what it is. So the initial field campaign was all about confirming this scale. We've done that. It's about 30 square kilometres at the moment. It's still open, but that puts it in the leagues of Mount Isa, MacArthur River, Sentry, and a very interesting deposit in Finland called Talvivaara, which is very similar to what we've got. The continuity's there. We've got vectors now that take us towards high grade. So what we're looking for in the detail is then what we use as an exploration tool to move out. We're also using some really interesting tools. So we've collaborated with Fleet Space Technologies on their passive seismic system. So this is a real-time delivering passive seismic system, which allows us to get information as the survey is being deployed, and that allows us to concentrate on particular areas or spread out the survey as we go. The other thing we're doing is using continuous XRF via the Mineralise system, which is another really interesting tool, because the issue with this in the past was always deemed to be a large, low-grade system, but we've identified that on a sub-metre scale, there is high grade within this. So then there comes opportunities in terms of ore sorting and other things, but the key point is there is actually high grade in this system. This is what we're targeting at the moment. So phase 2 is all about going into these zones where we're getting closer to the edge of the structures. We've got a lot of fluid coming up from below, and we're getting some unusual folding and other things. So you're looking at thickness, you're looking at more fluid flow, and that's really the key to creating ore bodies. The other thing that's come out of this, and it's quite unusual, is we found a bunch of nickel in this system. Now, we always just assumed it was going to be a zinc-dominant silver-copper system. However, we identified in the mineralised data this super interesting little area right next to a structure where all this odd-looking, it looked like pyrite to us, had come up and through breccia system and crackled out into the rock. Now, we got that some petrology done on it, and it's come back as a nickel sulfide called vaosite. Now, vaosite's a really weird mineral. What it does is it comes into the system as nickel, just little nickel ions in fluids, and it actually steals the sulphur from pyrite and sphalerite and replaces it to a nickel sulphide. So you're replacing low-value elements with high-value elements. So at this stage, this is just a bit of an oddity, but we do believe that there is a possibility that close to structure, along these unusual north-south things, we've got all these mafic, ultra-mafics in the regional district that could be the feeder for copper and nickel, and they're coming and over-printing this system. So again, the thing about ore bodies is you want to see repetitive fluid flow and over-printing to increase grade and volume. So that's really exciting. The other thing we're doing is we've fast-tracked, so we were planning to do this later in the year, but because we've found this nickel, we've also got a bit of copper turning into the system to the east, is we fast-tracked our geophysics. So we're literally, end of this week, we've got a helicopter arriving at Abra, which will fly up to our site, and we're doing a comprehensive VTEM survey over Brumby, Vernon, and the Kyangi Gorge Creek area. So that'll give us a beautiful building block to start that exploration in those more regional areas, as well as within Brumby, we're looking for these high-grade nickel cross structures, or what they are, they should light up in that survey. The other thing we've done is pick up another bit of ground to the east of Abra, where there's another big lazy antiform running across to the east, and we've just flown that with detailed aeromagnetics. We're expecting to see the data from that in the next week or so. So here's a bit of a run through. I'm not going to go through everything, but the key point is we've confirmed the continuity of the system. It's huge, 30 square kilometres across, so it's a big thing. So I think what you've got to look at this is in terms of the new sort of battery metal / EV evolution, base metals are the new coal. So what you're looking for is big projects, long-lived, easy to mine. So again, the idea with this will be is you'll probably look at it and try and mine it like a bulk tonnage iron ore deposit or a coal deposit, because of how continuous and how simple it is in terms of its structure and layout. So it's very flat dipping, it goes for kilometres, and you can terrace mine it, or possibly even underground room and pillar type things. So all of that's possibility. I mean, we're not pushing down that at this stage, but we've sort of looked forward at what could be so that we can come back, and that drives how we explore it. So we've got new copper and nickel targets. We've got blind high velocity targets from this new technique, which we're testing as part of this current program. And we're also targeting this structural thickening and grade increases, which we've now seen from the results on the weekend that is actually happening. So it's an exciting time for us. Phase 2 is really the key to ticking all those boxes. And then ultimately for you guys, it's about the investment snapshot. So this is our little camp lizard. He hasn't actually got a name, but he probably only fits in the size of your hand, but he's a cheeky little monkey, and he comes in and steals all the scraps after dinner around the fire at night. So there he is. But key points here are we're backed by some of WA's top mining professionals. We've got exposure to the key commodities, and particularly if we can find some more of the nickel and copper in this system, it's got the scale to be seriously interesting. The portfolio projects could potentially deliver world-scale projects. They're that big. The board management there have a track record, myself, a true explorer, and we're funding some really, really interesting, innovative programs. So that key to that is money in the ground delivers value for shareholders. So thank you for your time, and I hope you enjoyed the Bellavista story.